Hey there, folks. So I want to show in this video how to create a loop like this. So I'm using that same name tag demo as before, but or key tag, but this one is going to have a loop on it that you could put a string through or a key ring or whatever. So just pay attention to this, and I'm going to show how to do that. I'm going to actually just delete what I have here. I just wanted to show that so you could see it, but is that going to delete everything? I just want to delete these two. There we go. Okay, so starting from sort of scratch like this here, what I'm going to do is I am going to create a sketch, and I'm basically going to create two arcs, which are pieces of a circle or half circles, and that's what's going to give us that outside shape there. So actually, if I go back to before I got rid of that, I'm going to create this line and this line. And the other thing is I'm going to make sure that the distance between this arc, like the opening, has a radius of 0.125. So that's what we're seeing here, is that the distance between these two, that minimum distance there, is 0.125, because that'll be enough room for like string to go through, or maybe even a tiny nail or something like that. So that's a good size to do it with. And we're going to make this the outside part, so like the distance between these two it's not telling us that distance, unfortunately. Basically, the thickness of this loop is about 1/8 of an inch also. That's a good thickness to make sure things don't break. So if you're working in millimeters, you could do similar sizing, but you could probably make the size of the opening about 4 millimeters, and that would be big enough for some like standard cotton string. So anyways, enough introduction. Let me show how to do this. So I'll actually delete these again. So to do this, I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to actually create it on the bottom surface of this, since this is what's going to be on the bottom of the 3D printed build plate, we call it. I'm going to make the sketch down here, and I'm going to work upwards. That's usually my recommendation, because if you make like a floating loop or one that comes down from the top, you have to have supports underneath it, but that's not the end of the world either. So place this sketch wherever you need, but you're going to place it on a surface so you can create little hoops or loops sticking out from that. To create these loops, my recommendation is to use the center point arc so that you can put the center point right on the edge that you're working on. These other ones could work under certain circumstances. You might even be able to get away with using the circle tool, but the center point arc works the best. This is like a pencil compass. This is like you put the pencil compass point in one spot, and then you drag you sweep a line around. So you'll see how that works. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to hover around until the center of this line lights up. So that's where I'm putting my pencil compass point. And you see now I could sweep this. So I'm going to pick a starting point, and I'm not going to worry about size until after. I'll dimension it after. So I'm just going to make the general shape. So that was one click there. And then I'm going to click right here, another click to finish that. And let me turn on my mouse clicks for the rest of this. So one more time, center point arc, and put it on the middle, one click there, one click over here, and one third click over there. Okay, now let's dimension it. So like I said, we want that to be about 1/8 of an inch, which that decimal number for that is 0.125, but I can click on the outside of this arc, click again to put the number down, and I'll type 1/8. You can get away with doing that as well. And this is all in inches, of course. So like I said, 4 millimeters if you were working in millimeters, because that'll be about the same. Like if I type 4 mm, it's really close. It's actually a little bit bigger. So, but let's go back to 0.125 or 1/8. There we go. And then I'm going to make a second arc. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cheat a little bit, and instead of actually using another center point arc, I'm going to use the offset tool to just make sure it's the thickness that I want. So I'll click on this line, and it's going to offset it to the outside. That's way too big, but it's going in the right direction. Oops, in my screen down here, there we go. It's going outwards. So I don't want to set it like this. I want to type that number in. So I'm just going to click anywhere, and it's going to bring me right into editing that number. So I want the distance between these two to also be 1/8 of an inch. Ta-da! And that creates our two loops, and we see that the inside turned gray. That means that we have a closed shape that we can now extrude. So I'm going to click the check mark on my sketch. I'm going to go into extrude. Now, when I pick this outline shape, I don't want the inside, I want this outside. It might go in the opposite direction, and it might say new and all this other stuff. We want to make sure it's on add. Okay, now it says, oh no, we can't do that because there's nothing to add to because it's not actually touching anything. So let's flip the opposite direction. So we want it, instead of going where's my finger here? I'm like backwards down in the corner. Instead of going down and to the right, we want to click flip and it'll come up and to the left. And then for how far it goes, instead of actually typing in a number, because like I don't remember right now how tall this thing was, I'm going to change the end type here from blind, which means we just go blindly a set distance, to up to face. And then I'm going to pick the top face of this object. Watch this. If I pick here, it's going to go exactly up until it's flush with the top face. If I wanted it to go up and be flush with the top of the little hawk here, I could click that face and look at that. It's actually going up. If we look at this, it's going up right to that surface. It lines up. So this is a very powerful option right here to change that end type. And there's lots of other cool end types there too. But for this one, I'm going to click the X. We're going to click there. Okay. And we notice it's on add. So it's the same color as the other material. It's going to add on to that. And now we have our lovely loop. So that is kind of the basic gist of that. So one more time, I'll run through it super quick, just as a sort of confirmational review. What we did was we sketched on the bottom of this. We used the center point arc. We clicked in the middle here, swung an arc from one side to the other, dimensioned that arc to make sure it had a radius, or an R, of 0.125, which is the same as 1/8. You could type either one in. Then we used the offset tool, and we clicked that arc, and we offset it a distance of 0.125. You just click somewhere. Once it's going in the right direction, type 0.125 or 1/8 in there, enter. And then we exited our sketch, did an extrusion, picked that noodle shape. It looks like an elbow macaroni, flipped it. Well, we could pick add, flipped it the opposite direction to make sure it was going the right way. You could do that in any order you want. Changed this to up to face and picked the top face or the top surface and clicked OK, the green check mark, and that made everything look really nice. So if this makes sense now, you're probably all set. I'm going to show one more thing. I'm going to show how to fillet this edge. So this is just a little bonus. This can make it look a little cleaner if you want. So if I go and I find my fillet tool here, watch this. If I click this little edge right in here, okay, and I'm going to pick the top one here too. This will let me make this nice and smooth. So if I click the check mark, ooh, look at that, nice and smooth. It looks like it's not even going to break ever because it's so smooth and it's on there. So that's just a little bonus, the fillet tool. If you wanted to make that rounded corner a little more extreme, like stick out a little more, you can make this number bigger. Like let's try 0.3. See how it gets bigger. If we do 0.5, it gets really big. If you want it to be smaller, you could do smaller than what we started with, so 0.1. So that's up to you. You don't have to add that, but I think it makes it look smoother and a little less like it's going to break, and it makes it look kind of cool. So there we have it. All right, adding a loop.